Travis Wayne Goodsell. Comment reply video time. John Ferradino says that he stopped going to church since October 2024. I do not see him explaining why or how. So, good for him. And apparently just barely found one of my videos and is asking questions. So that's the good thing to do when you leave the church. Too many who do leave the church have their fixed doubt promotion in their head, and nobody can tell them otherwise because they know the truth. They feel it in their boobs, just like Mormons do. But faith promotion rather than doubt promotion. And so typically it's difficult to communicate what the truth is to an ex-foe, because they got taught by the church how to have a stubborn heart. Stiff-necked, hard-hearted. So the video was "Come to Free Sanctuary State Millennial, Utah, Zion. LDS Church storehouse is open. Free money for all." The one I just did today. Oh, Cox, you think you're protecting the church and you just get it in trouble. Just like all Mormons do. They think they're protecting the church and they just dig the deeper pit for the church to fall in. And so yes, we got a Purim alert for Monday. The church had set it all up to happen, and in so doing, the law of Purim of the Jews is going to bite the church big time. Bigly. What you gonna do when you get caught? What you gonna do when all your members are gone? So the first question that he asked, because YouTube's latest one is at the bottom, how are you gonna save Mormons? And for that, see, he already has a knowledge of Mormonism to understand what I'm talking about. He knows about the One Mighty and Strong from asking that question in that particular way. And so, yes, I can understand that he is of the Mormon Church to some degree, even though he doesn't explain how long he's been in the church, whether it was from birth or whether he was a convert, or what his activity level was in the church. I'm able to discern what that is by the way he makes his comments and asks his questions. So, Joseph Smith History, verse 40, second vision. This is how I was ordered to save Mormons. And that's it. No lightning bolts of fire flaming from my fingers. No laser beams from my eyes. No burning with the paleness of my skin. My glory. None of that Jesus crap. Nope, just a guy just like all of you. This is what Joseph Smith, in his vision, told the Mormons about my coming. So after saying that I am the Jewish Christ, not the Christian Jesus, he says the day had not yet come, and now it is, that Mormons, because Joseph is over Mormons who convert through the Book of Mormon. So he's talking to them, to you, Mormons. Mormons who would not hear his voice. Isn't it amazing how Joseph Smith predicted YouTube? It was Isaiah who predicted the antennas on the houses. Which I thought that was brilliant of Fahrenheit 451's author, who the original movie in the 60s, starts it off with showing just a gabillion antennas on rooftops. Just a brilliant direction of that. But anyway, if you don't hear my voice, and so, what was the name again? Ferradino? John Ferradino. You found me the one time right here at the very end, in the 11th hour, probably the last minute, to work in the vineyard, should be cut off from among the people. And so they is separated from the identification of people, even though there's somewhat pronounish. People is somewhat pronounish, because we don't get an understanding of what kind of people, even though people is the actual noun, and you have to put an adjective to describe which people. But nonetheless, it would be understood as those who are not Mormon, but soon would come. And so what does it mean by cut off? How are Mormons going to be cut off? Scissors? He previously tells us that the quoting of the 3rd chapter of Acts, 22nd and 23rd verses, are precisely as they stand in our New Testament. And so when you go to Acts to see how it's precisely as it stands in our New Testament, you read verse 23, which is supposed to show cut off to be precisely as it stands in our New Testament. And it shall come to pass that every soul, and so Mormons now know that that's Mormons, who will not hear that prophet, which is me now, shall be destroyed. Oh crap. From among the people. This is my assignment in preparation to get you to Zion, to save you. You need to listen to me. You can't just sit on your couch and listen. You have to be proactive in preparing to leave once the call goes out. Section 133 is the call that I will be giving to help you leave. But there's some other stuff that greatly concerns me, as the actual fulfillment is going on right this very moment. All this week, Trump's appointees are getting screened in the Senate, and if the Senate approves them, on day one, they're ready to go. They were assigned by Trump because they are going to implement Trump's plans on day one. All the different groups, Trump, I saw on the news this morning because YouTube denied me watching the news last night, is talking about forming a brand new tariff committee secretary. And so that'll be interesting. That'll have to be added into the Constitution. Or I guess they don't have them listed in the constitutional amendment, do they? And so no, Trump can add it, and I'm assuming it would be placed last. Secretary of Tariffs. Come on. Presidential Cabinet rankings. Cabinet of the United States. Okay, so first would be Secretary of State, Secretary of Treasury, Secretary of Defense, Attorney General, Secretary of the Interior, Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary of Commerce, Secretary of Labor, Secretary of Health and Human Services, Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, Secretary of Transportation, Secretary of Energy, Secretary of Education. That was the Battlestar Galactica president. The reboot. Secretary of Veterans Affairs, Secretary of Homeland Security, which got added after 9/11. Trade Representative, Director of National Intelligence. And so it's unclear, because National Intelligence was before Homeland Security, I thought. Senior Cabinet level of United States require intelligence reform and terrorism of 2004. Okay, so that was added. So it does seem like they get put in. Trade Representative. Doesn't say when that was put in. Director of Management and Budget. Doesn't show on the pop-up. Wait a minute, here we go. Secretary of Science and Technical Policy is a department of the United States government, part of the Executive Office of the President, established by the United States Congress on May 11th, 1976. And so it appears that Bush was able to put Secretary of Homeland Security in that ranking listing. And so Trump will then be able to, well, it's the one was done by Congress. But this one, Homeland Security, was done by the Patriot Act and thus by Bush. It says created by ... Let's see, the position was created by the Homeland Security Act following the attacks on September. Homeland Security Act. Wasn't that part of the Patriot Act? Or did they have to do another one for that? And so the act then was actually created by Congress and signed by the president. Okay, so all of the ranking then is determined by Congress. So that answers my question. And so Congress were the ones who ranked Homeland Security in that position, even though the Office of Science and Technology was long before Homeland Security got created. And then Administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency and Administrator of Small Business Administration. And so what Trump is calling for is for Congress to create the appointment or create the position, and thus would create the ranking order of it for the person he's wanting to put into that position. Okay, and so depending on who gets approved and which position they're in, depending on whether all of them are approved or whether some of them are, and there's others that are still waiting, will determine which actions will immediately take place on the next day, on the 21st. And so the other day I did the video, I guess it was over the weekend, giving you the list of everybody who's targeted by Trump, which is everybody in the state of Utah. Everyone in the state of Utah is going to be directly affected by Trump's plans on day one. Nobody is going to be able to escape it. If you're elderly and retired, well, your Social Security is in jeopardy, and your Medicaid and Medicare. If you're a child, yeah, especially if you're naturalized by birthright. Because the guy that's going to be in Homeland Security, I think, it was the one that was interviewed and put in the clips this morning, wasn't it? Is going to lock everybody up and let the courts decide their fate. So if you happen to be walking next to somebody who could possibly look like they're illegal, you get arrested with them, and then the judge will determine whether you are complying with the harboring of an illegal or if you're innocent. And who knows how long it's going to take when you've got millions of people locked up waiting for a court appearance. They have no desire to follow the Constitution for due process and speedy trial, let alone the warrant necessary to pursue the arrests and all that. Trump doesn't give a damn about the Constitution. He's doing what he wants to do. Your rights be damned. And so men who are white and within the drafting age, yep, you too are going to be directly affected because Trump's going to war day one. If the Pete Helmsworth or whatever his name is gets put in, he's foaming at the mouth to go to war. He had to deal with the explanation of his white supremacist tattoos and his adulterous affair. You were married still, right? Yep, I was. Yep, sure was. Evangelicals, what have you done? Mormons. But nonetheless, everybody's going to be affected. LGBTQ, IAPO+, yeah, you can kiss your life goodbye. And so this is where the church is put Cox out front as the shield for the church in Utah. It's because the church is hoping to get away with not having to do any of this, because the church kind of has members of all of the targeted groups that Trump is after, even though they're trying to kick some of them out, like LGBTQ, IAPO+, liberals, apostates. And so, yeah, we're down to 5 days left. And I have plans for the Exodus. I know exactly how to have it done. I've been doing the videos more so lately, but they're at the end of the hours of video length. So that only those who endure to the end of my videos are able to hear that information. Because for the most part, if it doesn't happen, I can't do it. I'm stuck. All I'm supposed to do is warn you. The warning voice. No supernatural powers to zap Trump and stop him, or zap all the leadership of the church and hypnotize them to hand it over. Threaten them with my glory. I'll show you my glory. I'll show you. You'll be burned. Hand it over. No, that's the church's threat, is that they use Jesus to coup the governments. And so, yeah, the church isn't going to just hand it over to me. I've been telling them over and over again. They know who I am. They know they're a fraud. They lie and expect Mormons to believe their lies. And so they don't care about repentance. They demand we repent. They aren't going to apologize. They aren't going to say they're sorry. They aren't going to confess. They aren't going to restore damage. Nobody gets this. Everybody thinks the church will change, the church will allow exceptions. No. They're not going to build a bridge. If they do, they're going to burn it right down. Right, LGBTQIAPO+, and ordained women? The church always has to show their strength. They cannot show weakness to the membership. They claim they're in direct communication with Jesus. And Mormons are dumb enough not to run the test to find out that they're frauds. And so, yeah, that's all I do. I do these videos, and that's why YouTube is attacking me. Ever since my #1 video that shows, hey, Mormons, I'm here. I have the gift of the man like Moses. I have the keys of the man like Moses. I have the gifts of seer, revelator, prophet, translator. All in that one video. And the church freaked out as it got so close to 40,000. And you, as a new person, you can go and watch that video and add another view to it. Maybe your viewing of it will help trigger the algorithm to get other people to watch it so I can get it over the 40,000 number. But YouTube does their best to shut it down so that nobody sees. So that's all I do. I have the designs, the blueprints, the system functioning, how to build and run and design Zion. Got it all up in my head. Joseph Smith confirmed when 19 July 1840. They are going to be mountain cities. It's going to be awesome. But I can't do none of it until the church falls and then transfers everything to me. Right now, I do not see how that's going to happen. We're down to 5 days. It takes 2 days to drive to the location. It takes 3 days from those on the West Coast. But there's also Mormons who are outside of the United States. Trump is trying to keep them out and kick out whoever belongs to those countries back to those countries, even if they're not from those countries. And so, yeah, we've got missionaries that are also abroad, all over the world. They need to come home. The church doesn't give a damn about any of them. They are little kids, 18 and 19 years old, on their missions around the world, bringing in the illegal pyramid scheme money for the church, which involves prostituting of your spouse. And the church, knowing of what's coming, because they caused it, they confessed, the whole plot, they're in charge of all of this that's going on. And this is how evil Nelson, Oakes, Irene, and all the 12 are. They don't give a damn about the Mormons. None of you. They're going to let you die. If you're collateral damage, you're collateral damage. And they will use that to claim they're the victim. That's how evil this church is. The Mormon employee never gets this. If Trump sees San Francisco as a threat, he's gonna nuke it. Bye-bye YouTube. Instantly. That's the headquarters of YouTube, is in San Francisco. Trump nukes it, no more YouTube for anybody. You know, Google, they're down in Southern California. I don't know if they're affected by the fires or not. Probably not, since I'm still able to access Google search. But yeah, there's over 70 celebrities who are now homeless because of those fires. And NCIS, I've seen reported as having to stop production of their latest episode or latest season because of the fires. And so it's unclear as to when they'll resume, if they're going to resume. So yeah, this is having major damage of consequences that Americans are not yet feeling, but will in the coming months and days even. Not just being threatened to hand over your money to support them when our government's supposed to have done it, but our government's refusing to do it. Johnson wants to extort them. And so, yeah, there's lots of problems that are coming up. And all I'm asking Mormons to do is listen to me and understand that this church is plotting to murder you. That you can't sit on your couch and wait for it to happen to see if it'll happen. This is not that kind of a test. Once you know and have run the test that the church are false, and that they're criminal, and that they're getting you to believe their lies and to commit crimes for them, then you not only have to stop going to church, stop paying tithing to them, and bail on the church, like John did, but you need to prepare as best you can under the circumstances you're in, because mine, I'm screwed. To get yourself ready to go, because it's gonna hit the fan Monday, technically Tuesday, and most likely that evening as a thief in the night. Wouldn't surprise me at all that at the stroke of midnight, ICE immediately does their thing. The border does their thing. The others do their thing. They have been waiting impatiently for this Monday, and they have not wanted to wait. Many things have already begun because they can't wait. The lawsuits on porn have already begun. It's now in the Supreme Court. They can't wait. It has to be now. And they're frustrated that it's the 20th that they've got to wait till. And so, yes, it wouldn't surprise me at all if at the stroke of midnight on the 21st, boom. But that, again, depends on the Senate as to who gets confirmed and who doesn't. So that's what you need to pay attention for. The other thing I've asked my viewers to pay attention for is the stock market. All corporations around the whole world, all governments around the world know what's coming when Trump takes over. Tariffs. And some other problems. The deportations, you know, he's going right to the people's jobs to lock them all up. that will remove a whole bunch of illegals who are working and supplying goods and services for America. All of that will immediately cease and halt. And just like Hollywood stopping production, we're going to see that in the next several days, weeks, and months, especially. Just like in 2020, when it hit, the food and supplies started emptying from the shelves, and there wasn't anything to replace them. And we learned of why. It's because nobody had prepared for such a viral outbreak. And so there were farmers who sold to something other than the regular public commercial goods, and so their product wasn't getting bought, and so they had to let it lay there and waste. And they just didn't think about trying to sell it to the commercial goods or have an open market to sell them. I mean, seriously, guys? You're just gonna let it waste, huh? Anyway, and so yes, the economy is going to be tanked starting on the 21st. The church is the major stock investor. They know what they're doing. This is insider trading that they're involved with. On the 21st, they will be pulling their stock as other people likewise will be pulling their stock. Well, the church is the major stockholder, so they'll be pulling out the most. And so I expect, as the last 2 days have shown, that they'll be pumping up the stock market in preparation for this massive withdrawal starting on Tuesday. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they're going to tease us a little bit, and they've pumped it up for 2 days. Maybe they'll take out some more today, and then they'll pump it up for the next couple of days. We'll see. But pay attention. Stock market is the indicator of what the church is foreseeing happening. In 2020, yeah, they were responsible for it, as Oaks confessed, and sure enough, they were the ones doing the major pullouts of the stock market that year, in March, right after Oaks gave his little talk to the mission presidents. Las Vegas, Nevada, 14th of March, 2020. And then the mission president posted it, or sent it off in his letter to parents and the stake presidents. And then Sister Jessica posted it on her mission website. And then, I'm forgetting her name, Nina Mindy, I think, something like that, found it and then brought it to the attention of another guy on YouTube, and that guy did a video of it. And YouTube Mormon employee thought he'd punish me by recommending his channel and his video for me. And oops, poor And so ever since last year when I saw that, I've been using that for pretty much every single video, trying to help those who've been following me remember Oaks and the church are involved in everything that's happening. They are the causation. They are responsible because Oaks confessed. And so I'm hoping that those pictures help remind people, and those who are new will see that and go, oh, okay, so that helps me understand the video that I talk about, hopefully. It's the intention. And it's getting kind of frustrating having so many pictures to show and remind you at the beginning of every video, rather than tell you repeatedly the content. And I still end up getting those Mormons who say, well, you didn't mention it, so I'm going to attack you. Leave the church alone. We're true. Jesus is going to burn you. Alright. So, yeah, I have no idea how I'm going to save Mormons. All I'm supposed to do is warn Mormons. I have done my part to do the research to save Mormons. My associate of memory somehow is far superior than the people who actually give the reporting of the news on the matter. With that, Jack Smith releasing his report yesterday. The news is all shocked. Oh my God, Trump is guilty. Oh, he would have gone to prison. You reported it when the act happened, and you forgot? We didn't need a special counsel. We all knew he was guilty. We heard him live. You recorded him. 14th Amendment, Section 3. He had to leave, but there were congressmen who were also guilty. And that's why nobody got punished for their crimes. And by letting them stay in, they went and did damage under Biden, as Oaks told us they were going to do. So, John then asks, isn't Zion supposed to be in Missouri? Yeah, you're missing that, and I didn't put it in that video, did I? See? I forget to put the repeated information in every single video without fail. Academia.edu, I post it for you guys. Download it for free, look at it for free. You know, scripture, you should have your own copy of it. Don't you have your own copy of things? And so, I think it's in this first page. Scroll over, come on. God, I hate AI algorithms with a passion. In the Joseph Smith papers that the church released and then ignored, published the Saints editions instead. Now Joseph Smith is also an adulterer, and that's okay because Jesus ordered him to do it. They just mock Joseph Smith to no end, and they just laugh at Mormons who go around the world and tell people about how Joseph is a Christian and he was an adulterer and a polygamist, and he raped women and he raped little kids and he murdered and he stole because Jesus is true. Oh my hell. And so he's talking about 19 July 1840. Joseph Smith is referring back to section 101's parable that he gave as a prophecy for the latter days, thus about Mormons, starting in verse 43. And instead he focuses on verse 51 when the enemy comes to destroy Mormons. Midnight, Tuesday, next week. If all things are going to go as Trump plans, Joseph Smith will be again proven to be a true prophet. If it ends up being on Wednesday morning at midnight, still fits, but he doesn't give the day. Nevertheless, it's when the Constitution is upon the brink of ruin, which is now, because nobody's following the Constitution. So verse 2, afterwards he read the parable of the 12 olive trees, section 101, verse 43, and said, speaking of the land of Zion, that it consists of all North and South America, but that any place where the saints gather is Zion, which every righteous man will build up for a place of safety for his children. And so Mormons use that to justify not having Zion built. You got to understand, Joseph Smith is talking 200 years before the latter days are supposed to happen. He's telling Mormons to design your life in preparation so that your children may grow up in this tradition to wait for Zion in the latter days. And Mormons just don't listen. They don't believe them. And they thank him for being a Christian rather than Jewish. And so he says the olive trees are the 12 stakes, which contain the members, not the prophets. So the church wants you to believe that the Mormons are the servants. And so the question in the manuals is, how can you be good to prevent the church from being destroyed? Are this yet to be built? Then he says, not the temple in Jackson. And this is where Brigham and his ites have been able to deceive Mormons, because Joseph Smith was starting the religion, setting it all up. And so wherever the headquarters was, he had a temple built. Kirtland. Then they got kicked out of Kirtland because of the Kirtland Safety Society, sabotaged by the Danites, who took out loans and didn't pay them back. And then Joseph got busted for it. And then in Missouri, independence. But again, the Danites caused the war over the election fraud and the decertification of the election and the burning, raping, stealing, murdering of the neighbors to cause the war. As Thomas B. Marsh wrote in his affidavit. But the Danites, George Albert Smith specifically, that got Hinckley and Monson to spill over the conference to reveal that they're false, because they're using that to tell Mormons to obey them. And so George Albert Smith is trying to claim that Thomas B. Marsh got excommunicated before he got excommunicated on the 17th of March, 1839, while Joseph was in Liberty Jail. So when people tell you something, it has to match with historic facts if they're going to use history to make their claims. And that's how you identify a liar, is you judge them by their words. If their words don't match up with truth, they're lying. It's a simple test. It's all over the scriptures. And yet, people love to believe the lies. And so you have Joseph Smith then talking about other things around the temple. He talks about the building of the mountain cities of Zion and New Jerusalem. So there's two main cities. And so Isaiah describes the differences between the two, the law from the one and the word of the Lord from the other. I think word of the Lord is from Zion and law is from New Jerusalem, or vice versa. And so thus, the specific designs that I have for both of those cities are based upon that pattern, which New Jerusalem would be the law, would be law, or word. Crap. Don't memorize, I have associative memory. Let's see, verse 3. For out of Zion shall go forth the law, and the word of the Lord from Jerusalem. Yeah, there we go. And so, yeah, the initial, command center. When the call goes out, section 133, everybody then comes in their separate groups to Zion who want to come. If they don't want to come, they are not forced to come. You can stay and fight for your survival. But again, if you're coming just because you want peace, safety, and refuge, but you want to take it away from others, you're not allowed either. You have to let everybody have it, even you, and therefore you get it, as everybody else gets it. Leave other people to live their lives. Live and let live, not live and let die. Which could be the theme song in the description below. Either version is okay, but probably the James Bond one will be one I will choose, rather than Guns N' Roses. It was Guns N' Roses, right? Live and let die. And so, yeah, the New Jerusalem is going to have the whole sciences part that's involved with that, whereas the command center is for Zion, and that's where the law of love, oh wow, that's a complicated one, giving life, liberty, and property to everybody. You get it, everybody else gets it. And if you violate the law, you're out. And that's how it'll be enforced. If you choose not to live in Zion and not allow others to live in Zion, then you're out. And that's the punishment. Unless it requires a capital punishment. But I hope you're not going to be that stupid and evil to commit that kind of crime, Mormons. But nonetheless. And so he talks about Nauvoo, or Illinois, and talks about Zion and New Jerusalem in Illinois, and then says also Nauvoo will become among the greatest cities as well. So it's not Nauvoo, even though that was the next headquarters, even though it was the Danites who were forced to move from Adamon-Diamon's secret headquarters, and they moved to Nauvoo. And the Joseph Smith Papers shows the timeline of the events. Joseph Smith is locked up in Liberty Jail and is giving letters ordering Mormons to stay in Missouri until he gets out. And yet, these Danites are disregarding it. They leave, abandon Adamon-Diamond, and head to Commerce, Illinois, and had it incorporated to Nauvoo. So the Danites are the ones in charge of Commerce, which is now Nauvoo. Their territory, their land, nobody else. Just like in Adamon-Diamond. You have Benjamin Franklin Johnson, who we were told in seminary class was confronted by a hooligan with a rifle or pistol or whatever, and threatened to deny Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. And he never denied his testimony of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He joined the Danites because of their threats. They were there in Adamon-Diamond, where he moved to. And so he'd been a Danite ever since. And so those kinds of things I've been doing videos of as well, about going over certain church history persons, showing my audience how to identify whether he was faithful to Joseph or whether he was converted by a Danite and turned to full Danite, or in 1838, whether he was attacked by the Danites and chased out of the church while Joseph was locked up. And so these Danites love to claim that the ones who ran away and didn't join them were the apostates. No. No, no, no. No, no. Okay? So Southern Illinois. And that's been confirmed through my videos that I've been doing for you. That's where X marks the spot. The Jews designated that location. And it's clear that Americans originally coming to America who knew that America was going to be the New Jerusalem, or the land for the New Jerusalem. And if you're aware of the pictures online of the eclipse that occurred on the 21st of August 2017, went over 7 different Salem cities. I've been giving you fuller information in my videos that I go over all these years, in 8.3K videos. And the enemy knows. But that was the original intent, is that they knew the Jews and their time designation from astronomy of where Zion and New Jerusalem were to be built. And that's why they came over to America. And that's why authors during Joseph Smith's time period were talking about Jews coming from the old world to America to rebuild their land. And it has to do with Babylonians and their Babylonian captivity of the Jews in Jerusalem, in which Daniel talks about the interpretation of Nebuchadnezzar's dream of the statue. Babylon is at the top. He was the one who kidnapped and held the Jews hostage, stealing them away from their land. And so the dream was to prophesy of when the Jews would get their new Jerusalem established. And signs in the heavens by the Jewish authors who wrote them of where they would be and when they would be and who it would be. And so I think this is where you're going to ask me next, isn't it? The New Jerusalem, I still don't get it. New Jerusalem is supposed to be after the earth is destroyed. I'm trying not to. Nobody's listening. The church won't hand it over. Nothing I can do about that. And so yes, when Trump starts, that's the start of the destruction. Because once he then starts his destruction, Putin, Xi, Yang, or Kim, we'll just call him Kim Jong-un, and Mohammed bin Salman, all Palestinians even, will rise up and attack their prey. And so a world will then collapse as it descends into war and economies collapse all over the earth. And that's where our missionaries are in great danger. Because it's not just going to be America and the rest of the world will be fine. The church is abandoning our missionaries to die in foreign lands, to be separated from their families, never to see them again. This is how evil this church is. So, New Jerusalem is supposed to be after the earth is destroyed, on the new earth according to the book of Revelation. No, that's a Jew wrote that, not Christian. Erase all Christianity from your brain. They botched it bigly. You have to use the learning of the Jews that the Book of Mormon says it is written in too, which is prophecy and revelation. You're not supposed to take it literally. Evangelicals were the abomination that after the 1900 loss in the Supreme Court to force the literal interpretation of the Bible upon the public school kids who are not evangelical. They went on an idol worshiping kick, created pornography, and likewise have been pushing literal Bible truth. And because of their failure to get it forced into the public school systems, evangelicals would then, over the decades, infiltrate the school systems, infiltrate the government, infiltrate psychology to cause the public school system crisis that we're in now. And so now you have states that are forcing the 10 Commandments or the teaching of the Bible in the public school systems. Even in Tooele, public school system is wanting the 10 Commandments posted. And nobody gives a damn that it was written by Jews. They're forcing their Christian interpretation on everybody. And everybody must believe their lie. Everybody is abandoning the Jews. Everybody hates the Jews. Everybody wants nothing to do with the Jews. But they stole the Jews and turned it Christian, just like Brigham Young did to Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon. And so the book of Revelation I've gone over in great detail because that's the #1 video I have. That's from the book of Revelation, chapter 12. That's the start of the latter days. And then the end of the latter days is Revelation 19, verses 11 and 17, which was on the 8th of April, 2024. Solar eclipse. And with solar eclipse, it's right over the United States of America. So the one on the 21st of August, 2017, and then 8 April 2024, first and last years of the latter days. And the one that we had last year, or on 2023, over Utah, yeah. All three of those solar eclipses, 3 days and hours of darkness over the United States of America, not only gives you the X marks the spot for the location of southern Illinois where Joseph Smith Zion would be built, but also forms the first and last letters of the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. Thus, I am the author and the finisher. I am Alpha and Omega, which is Greek, and so you transpose it into, transliterate it or transpose it, whatever, into Paleo-Hebrew. It's the A and the X, first and last letters. First and last, what other thing is there? But yeah, that's what it's all referring to. The ones who invented the Paleo-Hebrew alphabet specifically put in prophecy and revelation into their letters and into the vocabulary, even though they came from Egyptian hieroglyphs. Just a brilliant creation for the first alphabet ever. And so yes, I'm the one who deciphered it. That's how I know how awesome it was. I'm still amazed because I didn't realize when I first deciphered it that the first and last letters were the 3 days of darkness over the United States of America. And so that needs to be added into my publication on academia, which I did through a picture. I've got the picture on there. And so then you ask, when or how did this idea of New Jerusalem or Zion come about? Yeah, that's Babylon. Originally, there were a small hamlet of people living on the mountaintop they called Salem. Peace in Hebrew, Paleo-Hebrew. And in 1450, we have the record of Pharaoh Tawutmose III, phonetically transliterated into Paleo-Hebrew as David Moses III, who learns of the encroachment of the Hittites into their Egyptian land of Canaan. And so he takes his army up into Canaan and meets them in the valley of Har Megiddo, the mountains of Megiddo, Armageddon. This was Armageddon 1. And in the midst of the battle, I refer you to Bruce R. McConkey's chapter heading for Ezekiel 38. David Moses III goes on vacation. We don't know why. He says he goes on vacation. He goes to the hamlet of Salem to vacation there while the battle continues on. And we don't know what happened during his vacation, but there's a Bible story about it. It is not literal history, because everybody assumes it's David and puts it at a different time period, and no. It's prophecy and revelation by the Qumran community of Jews who are talking about this, talking about a future Armageddon that John in Revelation does as well. And so that's where Salem, then in the archaeological record, then goes and builds the Temple of Jerusalem with the one wall originally, and the palace of David Moses III, because he's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the great high priest, the Christ over all Egypt. And Salem now becomes officially a tributary kingdom. And so it has to grow and develop. But as is culture, the tribal leader of Salem, when the King of Kings comes to visit, he gives his firstborn daughter to the king as a wife. And thus, the child, through that union, would be assigned as the tributary king of Salem. And so thus, Salem, meaning peace, and king, the first king, is titled the King of Salem. And in Paleo-Hebrew, they use suffix determinatives in which it's an adjective to describe the main noun. So a tree, what kind of tree? You use an adjective to describe the tree. And so the land of Salem, king of Salem. Solomon, Solemn, peace, Salem. The N at the end is a suffix determinative for king or land, kingdom. And that's why Solomon is named by the Jewish author as the son of David. Whereas the Matthew author says that it's Solomon, but also Jesus is the son of David, even though Jesus is not connected to David. Joseph is. So it gets confusing if you try to make it literal history and not understand that it's prophecy and revelation for the future stuff. So now that I've thrown in Matthew, go to 2 Nephi chapter 3 verse 5, and that'll help you explain what they're actually talking about with Joseph and the son of David. Messiah ben Joseph, Messiah ben David. Book of Mormon explains it for you, without having me to repeat that, as we're already over an hour. And so Salem as a kingdom, which was still tributary to Egypt, then gets conquered finally by Babylon. Northern tribes got conquered by Assyria 100 years earlier, but then Babylon conquered Assyria and then came and expanded into Jerusalem. And so the Book of Mormon starts us with that prophecy and revelation of that time period on purpose. It's really cool. And so if you can't find the video, I hope that you'll hear me repeat it before we all die. It's Joseph Smith Sr. who had to rewrite the 116 pages and put that in there. He is just a brilliant mind. And nobody understands and knows about it because nobody tests it for Jewish. Everybody's testing it as Christian. And so that Daniel thing is about the coming forth of the new Jerusalem that restores or resurrects Salem. But all the Jews knew and understood when they wrote their scriptures that it ain't going to be Jerusalem in Jerusalem, that it's America, because of the signs in the heavens of the prophecies and revelations of days and hours, times, using astronomy. And so Joseph Smith also confirms this in the Joseph Smith translation of Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. Sign in the heaven, Revelation, in the likeness of things on the earth. prophecy. And so that's why I've been doing prophecy and revelation videos all these latter days. It's all about to hit the fan. So, alrighty. Those 2 simple questions, and we got over an hour for it.